Commander Vex should have known the quiet would not last. On Sentinel Station Kappa, silence was never peace. It was a warning. 3 days after the coffee incident, as it was now unofficially called in security logs, a priority alert pulsed across his console. Section 12. Environmental Controls. Unauthorized optimization in progress. Vex did not even sigh this time. He simply stood, adjusted his uniform, and said, "Get me a status report. And someone check if she's brewing coffee again." Officer Thrail did not need clarification. "It's Engineer Torres," she confirmed. "She has accessed the atmospheric regulators. Claims she is correcting a pressure imbalance that maintenance marked as non-critical." Vex pinched the bridge between his eyes. Non-critical was a sacred phrase in station operations. It meant ignore it until it becomes catastrophic. Humans, apparently, translated it as challenge accepted. By the time security reached Environmental Control Hub 3, they found not chaos, but music. Actual human music playing softly from a portable speaker balanced on a coolant pipe. Maya stood on a maintenance ladder, sleeves rolled up, recalibrating a regulator valve while humming along. 2 Centurion technicians stood nearby, holding tools and looking both nervous and impressed. "Engineer Torres," Vex called out carefully. "Explain." Without climbing down, she answered. "Your carbon scrubbers in residential Ring C were compensating for a micro-leak in the intake manifold. The system compensated by increasing oxygen output, which increased humidity, which increased corrosion rates in the lower ducts. You were 6 months away from mold in 0 gravity. You're welcome." The Centurion technicians nodded vigorously. "You're welcome." One added, "She showed us the projections. It was statistically inevitable." Vex felt the now familiar tightening behind his primary eye. "Did you file a modification request?" "Yes," Maya replied. "Yesterday. Estimated review time, 14 days. Mold timeline, 182 days. I got bored waiting." He stared at her. "You do understand we have procedures." She climbed down the ladder, wiping her hands. "I love procedures. Procedures are great. But sometimes procedures move slower than physics." Before Vex could respond, the hub lights flickered once. Thral stiffened. "What was that?" Maya glanced at her tablet. "Relax. That was the regulator syncing with the central system. Watch." The wall display updated. Atmospheric stability metrics smoothed out instantly. Humidity levels normalized. Energy draw dropped by 3% across the residential ring. 3% did not sound dramatic, but Vex had begun to understand that on a station this size, 3% meant thousands of lives breathing slightly easier without ever knowing why. Kel, the station administrator, arrived minutes later, clearly out of breath. "I was informed there is unauthorized optimization again," he said tightly. "Authorized in spirit," Maya offered helpfully. Kel glared. "You cannot keep redefining authorization." Maya tapped her tablet and projected corrosion simulations across the room. "You also cannot redefine chemistry. See this curve? That's microbial growth in a closed, humid environment. It's not dramatic. It's just inevitable." Kel studied the data longer this time. His scales did not flush purple. That alone felt like progress. "Security," he said at last. "Stand down." Vex did not argue. He was starting to see a pattern. Human intervention, minor panic, verified data, reluctant approval, station improvement, repeat. Within weeks, something strange began happening across Sentinel Station Kappa. Departments started inviting Maya instead of reporting her. Maintenance teams would quietly send her diagnostics labeled purely hypothetical. Engineers who once dismissed her began asking questions. Even Kel started scheduling expedited review meetings. That suspiciously aligned with her latest discoveries. Security adapted too. Vex updated his survival guide. A new rule was added: if a human is humming while holding tools, assess whether evacuation or applause is required. The coffee club doubled in size. Officers who had once feared human unpredictability now debated roast strength and brewing methods. Thrall insisted the caffeine improved tactical awareness. Norvik claimed it improved morale. Plex claimed it improved everything. Then came the gravity fluctuation and docking ring B. It happened during peak traffic. Cargo containers drifted half a meter off the deck before slamming back down. No injuries, but close. Very close. Before security could even assemble, Maya was already at the docking control interface. Phase variance in the grav plating harmonics, she muttered. Why is your dampening algorithm static? Because it has worked for 20 years. The docking supervisor snapped. It's been lucky for 20 years, she corrected. Vex arrived just in time to see her rewrite part of the stabilization subroutine in real time. Please tell me you are not improvising, he said carefully. I am strategically adapting, she replied. The deck shuddered once, twice, then steadied completely. Cargo containers settled as if gravity itself had taken a deep breath. Docking metrics recalculated. Stability improved by 12%. Energy draw reduced again. The supervisor stared at the numbers. How did you see that? Maya shrugged. Your harmonics were slightly out of phase. It was like listening to music that's almost in tune but not quite. Drove me crazy. Later that evening, in his office, Vex reviewed the cumulative data since Maya's arrival. Power efficiency up. Environmental stability up. Maintenance emergence to del. Incident response times shortened because fewer actual disasters occurred. He leaned back slowly. Humans were not fragile, they were not chaotic, they were catalytic, they accelerated change. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Officer Renax stepped in. Sir, I believe Engineer Torres is about to modify the waste heat reclamation system. Vex did not even look surprised. Is it about to fail? According to her projections, yes. Then bring coffee. Vex said calmly, if we are going to witness history again, we may as well be alert. Across the station, Maya stood in front of another holographic display, explaining energy redistribution to a growing crowd of engineers from 3 species. Her hands moved animatedly. Her confidence radiated. She was not dismantling order. She was reshaping it. Vex watched from the back of the room this time instead of the front. Not as an arrestory officer, not as an adversary, but as a witness, somewhere deep in the state. THN. Systems adjusted smoothly under her latest update. No alarms sounded, no lights flickered, just a subtle hum, steady, balanced, alive. For the first time since the incident report that ruined his boring Tuesday, Commander Vex realized something unsettling. He no longer wanted a transfer. Because Sentinel Station Kappa was no longer merely surviving. It was evolving, and at the center of that evolution stood a human with a coffee mug and the audacity to fix the impossible. Commander Vex had been enjoying what he considered a perfectly boring Tuesday afternoon. Boring was good. Boring meant no hull breaches, no diplomatic crises, and absolutely no humans rewriting the laws of engineering. Then, the incident report lit up on his datapad. Unauthorized power grid modifications. Section 7. Engineering Bay 12. Suspect. Human female. Of course it was a human. Vex had served as security commander on Sentinel Station Kappa for 8 cycles. In that time, he had handled smugglers, disputes, and one unfortunate ventilation incident. He had dealt with exactly 0 humans and preferred it that way. According to the 17 official volumes of human behavioral analysis, humans were fragile, emotional, creative, confident, and dangerously inventive. Vex did not like inventive. He looked up at his second-in-command, Officer Threll. How bad? Threll clicked his mandibles nervously. She had bypassed 4 safety protocols, rerouted power conduits through the waste recycling system, and installed something labeled an efficiency booster into the primary distribution node, the node that fed life support to 40% of the station. Vex closed all 3 of his eyes before ordering Team 3 assembled with stun settings only. 5 armed officers marched toward Engineering Bay 12, like they were approaching a live explosive. The manual said humans could lift 7 times their body weight under stress. That did not help morale. Energy readings from inside the bay were strange, fluctuating between heavy computation and what appeared to be cooking activity. Steam drifted behind the transparent doors. When the doors slid open, Vex began his arrest speech, but stopped mid-sentence. The human engineer Maya Torres was smiling. Not nervous or guilty, friendly. She greeted them cheerfully and offered coffee as if they were guests instead of arresting officers. Thrall accidentally accepted a mug before remembering protocol. Maya activated a holographic display and launched into an enthusiastic explanation. The primary junction was running at 62% efficiency, wasting 38% of the station's power. She had rerouted conduits, installed buffer nodes, and added a dynamic load balancer she called an efficiency booster. According to her numbers, system performance had increased to 94%. The guards slowly formed a semicircle around the hologram, half captivated, half confused. Plex took a sip of coffee and declared it incredible before Vex ordered everyone to stop drinking it. Maya defended the coffee as innocent while casually admitting she had upgraded outdated safety systems along the way. Then the room began to hum, not softly, but deeply enough to vibrate through bone. The hologram flashed orange. Lights flickered. Maya admitted she might have triggered a recalibration loop during the demonstration. Alarms blared across Section 7 as visible power surges rippled through the schematic. While security shouted for evacuation, Maya grabbed a tablet taped to a power drill and declared she could fix it. Sparks flew as she forced a manual reset through a wall panel. The hum peaked, then dropped into sudden silence. The alarms cut off. The hologram shifted to calm green. Power flow stabilized at optimal balance. Station Administrator Kell burst into the bay expecting catastrophe and found 5 stunned officers, spilled coffee, and a slightly singed human holding improvised equipment. Maya calmly presented historical data proving the primary junction had been degrading for months and would have failed within days. If it had collapsed, 40% of the station would have lost gravity and life support simultaneously. The data was verified. Engineering teams confirmed she had prevented a cascading disaster. Officially, she received a reprimand for violating protocol. Unofficially, her modifications became standard equipment, renamed with more official-sounding terminology. Human engineering requests were fast-tracked thereafter. Security began stocking coffee. Norvik founded a coffee club. Thrall quietly developed a caffeine habit. Vex filed for transfer twice and was denied both times. Weeks later, a new officer arrived, proudly announcing he had studied all human behavioral manuals. Vex showed him a different document titled, "Things They Do Not Teach You About Humans." If a human says this will only take a second, prepare for hours. If a human says, "Trust me," start writing your incident report, and if a human offers coffee, accept it. As if on cue, a proximity alert signaled power rerouting in another section. Through the window, Maya appeared in her workshop, holding her mug and waving cheerfully. Somewhere deep in the station, something began to hum again. It was going to be another long day.